Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome to season 5, episode 9 of the TRISPORTS podcast. In this episode, we are joined by the former road mile world record holder, Sam Prakel. It is clear in the very beginning of this episode that Sam has been a very, very busy man over the past couple of weeks and months. Obviously, since setting the new world record in the newly recognized event of the road mile that can be put forward as a world record by World Athletics, um, that Sam's win at the US Road Championships allowed him to hold that official world record. Not only since then has he been preparing for the World Championships, the Road World Championships, where he placed third in Riga a couple of weeks ago. He's also been preparing to get married as well. So he ran in the World Championships on the 1st of October, I believe, and got married on the 2nd of or on the 7th of October. So he's been a very, very busy man. So I really do appreciate Sam taking the time to come on the show and tell us all about his season this year. But as well, we go through his time in high school running, as well as his time running at the University of Oregon, to now training with the guys in the University of Washington, while being a professional Adidas athlete, and as well Sam's goals for the indoor season. Of course, there's the World Indoor Championships this year, and as well, obviously, it's a Olympic year. So Sam is hoping to get to the Olympic trials and make it all the way through to Paris 2024. So we'll definitely be cheering Sam on all the way through the indoor and the outdoor season. Like I said, I really do appreciate him taking the time to come on the show and tell us all about his amazing season and a lot more. But before we get into this episode of the podcast, I want to give a big shout out and a big thanks to the sponsor of the show, Mini Athletics, and big thanks to all the guys over at Mini Athletics, and of course Niall over at Mini Athletics, who we've had on the podcast as well. The guys over there are supporting the podcast, so I do want to give a big thank you to them. Mini Athletics can support your kids all the way from walkers up to 7 years of age in developing their athletic skills, jumping, throwing, running, while at the same time developing organisation and communication skills and a lot more through really fun athletic games. All the links to Mini Athletics and Niall's Instagram are down in the description below. From Niall's Instagram, the Mini Athletics Dundalk Draw, the Swords Instagram, and the Mini Athletics website as well. If you want to get in touch for birthday parties, if you want to get in touch for fun days, if you want them to come to your school, and a lot more, Mini Athletics can facilitate that. So once again, big thank you to Mini Athletics for supporting the podcast, and all the links are down in the description below, so make sure to check them out. But that's going to do it. Without further ado, I hope you all enjoy this episode of the podcast with Sam Prakel. So we're joined with Sam Prakel, the I suppose recently, I suppose you lost the world record, which you can go into, or lost. It was beaten, but just a couple of days before that, you were the holder of the mile world record, third in the road mile championships. So a lot of serious credentials there off the bat. But from a more personal point of view, Sam, you've had a busy couple of weeks. So do you want to dive into that a little bit, and maybe people listening in at home who may not be as aware of who you are and what you're all about, just give a general overview. But I'm sure anyone listening in aware with what's going on in the running world recently, they will be well aware. So I'll hand the mic over to you and let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Recently it's been a pretty crazy last 3 weeks. Going back to the World Road Running Championships in Riga, October 1st, and the whole week leading up to that with the travel and everything was pretty draining. And then going from there, I went back to my hometown in Ohio. I'm from a small town called Versailles, Ohio, population about 2,500, and that's where I got married to my now wife, Katie, and she's also from Ohio, from kind of the same area, just a little south of Versailles, in a town called Tip City, Ohio, and had the wedding festivities and had a great time. And then I flew back out to Seattle, where I live. I'm based in Seattle, Washington, where I train with the University of Washington cross country and track team. And immediately got sick and recovered from that. Went on my honeymoon, but now I'm back in Seattle, and kind of back to my routine and back to training. But it's been a crazy few weeks. My body, I think, felt it in the end there. But I'm happy to be here and happy to be sharing some of the details of that with you.
Definitely, no, really, really looking forward to it. Yeah, like you said, it has been a really, really busy couple of weeks, and your body definitely kind of feeling the effects of it now. Thank God you're back healthy. You had training earlier this morning. We were talking a little bit about the time zones just before we started recording. How was the body this morning in training? Could you definitely feel the effects of the past couple of weeks, or were you okay in that regard now that you've recovered?
I think I'm okay now. I felt pretty normal. I mean, my normal Monday morning is a training run, 6 or 7 miles, and then some strides, and then I get in the gym and I do a little lift. And I felt like I normally do on Mondays, which was good. I mean, last week was a different story. Coming back, I had to take a day completely off, and then I was just jogging the rest of the week because with the fever and other symptoms I just had to lay low and get recovered. But I think by not forcing it last week, I gave myself a chance to kind of get my legs underneath me and feel good for this week, which is good, heading into another big training block this fall. But yeah, things are a little delayed for me. Normally by this time of year I'm doing workouts and stuff, but I haven't really started workouts. I was still just coming off of, like we said, the big past couple of weeks. But I felt good this morning, so I think we're heading in the right direction.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, starting to come back around a little bit more, and hoping to keep the form from the roads after the past couple of weeks that we will get into as the episode goes on. So we will work our way through, I suppose, your years of running. Take us back to the beginning, I suppose, because it's always maybe especially for the younger audience listening who over the past couple of weeks have seen you go on to do great things, who may be in a similar position to where you were maybe in your high school days leading into your college days. So kind of take us back to that time period in your running career.
Yeah, I've been running for a while now. I think I started pretty young. I think relative to a lot of people. I ran in middle school, so started. Let's see, for us that'd be seventh grade. So around age 12 or 13, I was competing a lot. I would run cross country and track, and I was pretty serious about it from a young age. But still, wasn't the fastest guy in the state, or wasn't the fastest um, recruit out there for colleges to look at. So I kind of had a steady progression through high school. I started um, freshman year. I was running around 4:20 for the mile. So was pretty good for my age, and it was encouraging to kind of be one of the better freshmen in the state, in Ohio. But had some setbacks, had sort of a sophomore slump the next year, and didn't my biggest goal in high school was to win a state title. So I won my state title my junior year, but I think it took a little longer than I thought it would. And then my best season was my senior year, and that's sort of what got the attention of some coaches. And I looked at a lot of schools, but I just clicked the most with Oregon, and it was hard to pass up the opportunity to run at Oregon. So after kind of bugging Coach Powell there a couple of times with some emails and sending him race videos and all of that, we talked on the phone, and he was pretty interested just from watching some of my race videos. I was in a really small division in high school in Ohio, so I didn't really get to race some. I didn't race, the top guys. So never really, I think, ran to my potential in high school. But just watching my race videos, I think Coach Powell could see that I was closing really hard in some of these races and had a lot left, and had a lot of potential. So he was eager to get me out on a visit, and once I visited Eugene and saw the support that track has out there, I was pretty keen on going, and yeah, that's just a very abbreviated story of my recruiting process. But I looked at a lot of different schools and took a lot of visits. But yeah, I ended up at Oregon and improved a lot there. But yeah, I mean, I had a pretty supportive experience with running in high school. My coaches kind of held me back and did a good job keeping me healthy, and I had good pretty good teams and training partners. But yeah, a lot of it was just kind of self discipline and training a lot by myself as well. So yeah, I've always running I think was always my number one sport. I play a lot of different sports too. I played a lot of basketball and baseball and soccer. So by the time I was in high school, though, I was pretty much focused on running. I did swim team for all 4 years of high school as well. So that was just something to do in the winter because it was too cold to run outside in Ohio. So I was in the pool and cross training, and I think that did a good job of maintaining my fitness during those colder winter months. But yeah, I think having a pretty balanced background in sport, but at the same time, kind of knowing I had a talent in running and knowing that was what was going to take me far all along. But yeah, was running I think fairly seriously from a young age. But yeah, got to Oregon and was probably far from one of the best guys on the team, so had to climb the ladder there. But we can dive into that later.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, tell us a little bit about that progression that you've seen in college, because it's a lot of people's dream to go and run for Oregon when they get to that, I suppose, age. And Oregon is known, especially nowadays with Hayward Field and a lot of the guys that come out of Oregon, like Cole Hawker and Cooper Tier over the past couple of years to go on and do great things. But for you personally, through your time in Oregon, then you see your credentials coming out: 5-time All-American, 2018 Pac-12 winner. Tell us about that progression that you've seen in your own running through your collegiate years.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous going to Oregon. I knew I wasn't the best guy. I knew the recruiting class I was coming in with was insane, and we had guys like Edward Cheserek and Jake Langang, who were the top guys in the country. And I was just afraid I was going to get dropped every workout. I was not going to be good enough. But I think I kind of at the same time enjoyed that challenge of being pulled along, and I think that's truly what makes you a better runner is kind of people around you who are better, and you can just kind of get dragged along in workouts, and if you're putting forth your best effort, I mean you're going to get better if people around you are better than you. So yeah, I started off in the redshirting kind of my cross country season freshman year, but ran indoors and outdoors for Oregon my true freshman year, which was valuable experience, and ended up making the national final in the 1500 in 2014, my true freshman year, and ran 3:41. So made a pretty big jump my freshman year, but I think a lot of that is due to Coach Powell's just personalized training and knowing I was pretty underdeveloped. So kind of slowly progressing me through the fall and the winter to a point where by the time we got to the spring, I was able to, handle a little more mileage and a little more intensity in the workouts. So yeah, had a really good freshman year. But yeah, the progression wasn't perfectly linear throughout my time at Oregon. I had, again, a little slump my sophomore year, had some injuries. And then junior year, made another jump to 3:38 for the 1500 and qualified for the Olympic trials. And then I was 3:37 in the 15 my fourth year there, and then my fifth year I was 3:36. So I got a little better each year. Like, it was small little jumps, but at that level, I think it was big enough to continue to gain some attention and the possibility of going pro. So it didn't happen overnight, but I think a lot of time, in the gym, a lot of time out on the trails, just putting in the work and not always seeing the results in races, but racing a bunch and getting a lot of opportunities, I think was huge for me at Oregon. I was lucky to be able to have Hayward Field there that hosted some good meets, and I was able to race against some good guys and kind of see what it took to be a pro athlete. And then I think by my third or fourth year, that was the goal, was to go pro and continue my career in running, after graduation. So had a very unique experience at Oregon. It's kind of, almost in my eyes, like better than being a pro athlete, just because the amount of support they get as a program there. Everything's taken care of.
It's
Physio,
borderline
massage.
pro at Oregon, though, isn't it? The facilities there are unbelievable.
Yeah, the facilities, it's probably the only school where you can be a track athlete there, but kind of get the same level of facilities that, some other football teams get that are
Right.
making a lot of money and getting all the resources. So I mean, I wasn't there with the new Hayward Field, but even with old Hayward and then some of the facilities across the river over by the football field that we got to use, it was a professional athlete experience for sure. So very lucky to get that experience, and it was pretty special being a part of a really good team too, that we won a few national titles in track. So that was really fun to be a part of.
No, you mentioned there, Sam, about when you were coming through your senior year in college, that you knew you were good enough to gain some attention to then leading into going pro, and like we mentioned there, 5-time All-American, and then in 2018 you were the Pac-12 champion, which was your final year in Oregon, and then in 2018, in that same year, you signed for Adidas. So tell us a little bit about kind of finishing off your senior year and then signing for Adidas. Were there talks going on while you were still in Oregon, and then it was kind of just finalised once you graduated? And were there other, I suppose, shoe brands in the mix there? Did you have your heart set on Adidas and they had the best deal for you?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, throughout college, I had the dream of going pro, but really had no idea what that process looked like or how it would go. And I think my whole last year at Oregon, my coach just said, don't worry about it until after the season. So I focused on the college season, ran NCAAs in June. And then after I graduated, and was out of eligibility, then I started to talk to some agents. I remember after my race at NCAAs, I talked to a couple of agents, and that was the first step, was just like signing with an agent that I liked and I felt comfortable with, and someone who I knew would work for me, because I mean, I knew my resume, I think, was good enough, and my potential was high enough to get some sort of contract with a shoe company. So I just wanted to I mean, back then, I mean, nowadays, I don't know, some guys maybe try to do it without an agent, but when I signed with an agent, that was kind of the only way we knew how to go pro. Was the first step was to sign with an agent, and then after that, they kind of do most of the work. I don't see what goes on behind the scenes, but they're talking to any shoe company that I want them to talk to, plus other ones, just to see like what's out there. And Adidas was the first offer I got. I remember reading the contract over at USA's, which was about 2 weeks later, and thought it looked good. The only issue was I didn't know where I was going to train or who was going to coach me. But fortunately, that same week, my coach at Oregon announced that he was moving to Seattle to take the head coaching job at the University of Washington, and Washington also was transitioning to an Adidas school. So it kind of worked out perfectly. The timing was perfect for me to sign with Adidas and still keep my coach. So, I mean, I've been with my coach for 10 plus years now. So he coached me at Oregon, and now he coaches me as a pro. So I think that to me was the biggest reason I went with Adidas, is because they kind of let me stay with my current coach, and I felt like we were on a pretty good progression. So that, I mean, I'm really happy that worked out. I did consider some other companies. I wanted to consider OTC Elite in Eugene with Nike, just because I loved Eugene. I'd lived there all of college, and I considered staying there. But again, I think the option to go with the Adidas offer and stay with my current coach was too tempting to pass up. And I mean, I think I ended up signing August 1st, so it took a while for all the paperwork to get done. But for the overall, I mean, pretty straightforward for me. I was pretty lucky to have good agents and good people, consulting me and giving me advice on that whole process. But yeah, I mean, Adidas has been awesome. I've been with them for over 5 years now, and I hope I can finish out my career with them. So, um, yeah, that was the summer of 2018, which was a busy time, and I remember I ran USA's, got let's see, 2018, yeah, I got seventh at USA's that year, and then flew over to Europe and ran some races before signing my Adidas contract, and then once I got back to the US, I finally signed, and then started racing in the Adidas kit at some domestic races, and then finished out with Fifth Ave that year. So yeah, 2018 was a special year, and yeah, like you said, I think winning Pac-12s was probably the highlight for me, just because it's it was such a deep conference, and in the 1500 too, doing it in that event was fun. So yeah, it's always fun thinking about all the fun things happening in 2018 for me.
Definitely, and it all does lead to that one point, I suppose, in terms of finally signing that professional contract. And for you, Sam, it did seem like everything just fell into place. You know, with Washington becoming an Adidas sponsored university, and your coach at the time in Oregon, then moving over to Washington as well. It did really all seem to work out perfectly for you, and it was meant to happen. But for you, how important was it, and it currently is it, to be still with the same coach from your time in Oregon? And do you think that is one of the reasons why you've continued to develop as the athlete? You know what they say, if it's not broken, don't fix it, and it clearly is working, especially over the past year on the road. The credentials that you've added to your resume have stacked up. And do you think that fluid contract, transition from Oregon to going pro is one of the reasons for that happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the main reason. Like you said, that was my mindset when I was going pro, was if it's not broken, don't fix
Yeah.
it. And I had a good thing going, and I was improving every year. And Andy knew me so well as an athlete. He knows what workouts work for me. He knows what stimulus I respond well to, as far as like speed or strength, and what time of the year we work on those things. And he yeah, I mean, I think he's one of the best coaches in the world. He's developed some really good guys in college. He's a really yeah, just smart coach. He's really good at coaching confidence. He gets you ready for those big time meets. Any championship meet, he's going to dial you in, and you're going to show up to that meet confident, and knowing you'll have a shot to either make that team or get a medal or whatever your goal is. So yeah, he's a coach, but he's also kind of a psychologist, and I think he really coaches confidence very well. You kind of see it. I see it every day with the college kids, and I've seen it with myself. So I think I realized at the time that I had something special, by being an athlete of his, and I didn't want to leave that. So I'm happy I got to stay, and I think that is, yeah, one of the main reasons I've continued to improve, and we work well together. His main focus is the college team, obviously, but I'm a pretty independent athlete, and I communicate well with him. So if we're on the same page, we just kind of yeah, we click, and yeah, at this point, I mean, going into my 6th year as a pro, we kind of have a good system down as far as what we need to be doing in the fall to get us ready for indoors, and then that kind of carries on to outdoors. So I like the system I'm in, and I like his training. So yeah, and I think that's a huge part too, is just believing what you're doing is working, and I've always believed in the training I've done. So I think that's key as well.
And will you jump into training sessions with the Washington guys as well, or is it more one on one?
No, I'll jump in with the Washington guys. They're my training partners. I go to training most days, and do sessions with them, and they push me and I push them. I feel like at this point the team is so good, it's basically a professional training group. We have guys who have run 351 and 352 in the mile, so they're just as good as I am. So it's been a fun group to be a part of, especially the last couple years, with just the caliber of the team. So it's been, yeah, I jump in with them as much as I can, and it's kind of nice because there's usually almost year round there's someone in town that I can work out with, and they have a pretty deep team. So I mean, we do have a couple other post collegiates that I match up with, but for the most part, it's the college guys.
And was Brian Fay on your team?
Yeah. He was for the past 2 years, and I had a lot of good workouts with Brian. So I mean, he was just a pleasure to train with. Just the energy he brings and the passion he brings, and yeah, he was one of my favorite workout partners the past couple years.
No, that's really cool to hear. Obviously, because he's one of our own over here in Ireland who's doing great things. Obviously, he just signed for Nike, and he's the 5K national record holder. So he clearly had a great team behind him. You know, with the whole group in Washington and yourself as well. So it's clear to see why he's developed so much as an athlete over the past couple of years. Um,
Yeah,
Adidas themselves, obviously you've an athlete have come on so much over the past couple of years, and that was seen through your time in Oregon as well. But Adidas as a company now are really starting to shake up the shoe game. We seen the Berlin Marathon with a 2 hour 11 minute world record holder on the female new world record on the female side, and of course your world record on the side of the road mile. It's really starting to come on in leaps and bounds, because there was a while there, a couple of years ago, when if you weren't with Nike, you kind of weren't in contestant for medals. But I'm sure you're seeing firsthand how much Adidas are developing as well.
yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, yeah, the shoes that they um, have been developing. I mean, for racing, it's huge, because that's the whole point of why you're training is to race and win. But in training, I think that's the biggest difference those shoes make is when you're training, yeah, you're just able to put in so much more work and recover faster, and yeah, I still haven't gotten my hands on the pair of shoes that um
That's
um
actually one of my
called,
questions. I was gonna ask you if you got the
yeah.
opportunity of running them yet.
Not yet. I asked for them for the Riga race, and I think they're saving them for most of the world major marathons. I think they said they only have enough pairs for two athletes per major marathon to wear, so they're pretty limited right now. I mean, I think they only had like around 500 worldwide, and I think they only reserved, I don't know, 20 or 25 for the pro athletes, and that's a pretty select group. So I think as a miler, I probably won't be top of the list, but I think they're saving them for the marathoners.
Hopefully by the time they're people are getting them up off the shelves, and they've been worn in a couple of marathons over the next few months, as the marathons continue to progress, until track season comes back around, and cross country season finishes up. You'll be able to, I suppose, get your hand on a pair then, because they look unbelievable.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, I still can't believe the specs with how light they are. And if they still perform the same as the Adios Pro, what I've been wearing, then I think it's a very dangerous shoe.
Definitely contesting there with the Nike Alpha Fly Next Percent too. So that's the thing. Like I mentioned, over the past couple of months and years since the Alpha Fly came out, there was talk about Nike having the unfair advantage. But it's great to see now not only the Adidas team developing with athletes like yourself and many marathon runners across the world, but the shoes developing at a similar rate. So it's great to see that balance kind of coming into play. And on the topic of road shoes and the road itself, over the past couple of months, since about April, when you placed first in the USA Championships on the road, it's been a progress, a season of progression for you. Have you fallen in love with the road racing over the past couple of months?
I feel like I've always loved the roads, and this year's taken it to the next level. I mean, I saw that the World Road Running Championships was adding a road mile last year around this time, and when I saw that announcement, I got really excited. I was like, I need to run that race, just because I love running on the roads. So yeah, and this kind of blew up a little bit, but the reason I scheduled my wedding for October 7th was so I can be in Riga October 1st. I was like, because we were early October, like, well, do we do October 1st or October 7th? I was like, well, like I did see this thing going on October 1st that I kind of want to do. So let's schedule October 7th. So that we planned ahead and we planned around this race, and I knew that it'd be something I'd want to do just because, yeah, for some reason I just love the road mile, and I feel like I could get behind other distances on the road eventually. Like maybe I try road 5K someday and move up to that at some point. But yeah, I don't know what it is about the roads. Maybe it's because I grew up in rural Ohio. And I did most of my training just on flat asphalt roads. And have a good feel. And I think it's also just like my I get really good response from the roads because I put a lot of, like, I was never good at cross country. I always sunk into the grass and the mud because I just put so much force into my foot but when on the roads I just get all that energy return. So I think I'm really well suited for the roads for some reason, and the track too. But I feel like the roads feel a little more I feel a little more freedom out there. I race a little more relaxed, and I think that's maybe how I race the best is when I'm relaxed and maybe not as structured as a track race. So there's having a little more fun out there. But yeah, I ran a lot of road miles this year. The U.S. Championships in April, and then won a couple weeks later in Atlanta, at the Atlanta City Games, and then ran Fifth Ave, and then the one in Riga. So yeah, I feel like I just have a good time out there with the road miles. So I'll probably do as many as I can. But at the same time, track is the main focus, and I have big goals for next year in the 1500. So that's always going to be priority number one. But the roads are just kind of fun to do, to break up the training and see some different sides of the sport.
Definitely. And although you said the track is the main priority, and especially coming into an Olympic year as well, it is going to be a focus for athletes across the world. But maybe going into this season on the roads, you didn't expect to pick a world record up along the way, just because of how the regulations in terms of the road mile being an official event and an official world record event. So talk us a little bit about that process from your point of view, and when you found out that your road mile time from the USA Championships was actually going to be recognized as the official world record time.
Yeah, it was quite the process. When before the race in April in Des Moines, they said that they went through all of the requirements and accreditation and everything to make it a certified course, and we had drug testing. So they're like, if you run under 350, it'll immediately be a world record. Well, I knew, like, being early April, I don't think we were in shape to run under 350, so we knew that wasn't going to be the case. But then in the back of my head, I was like, well, whoever wins this race, if the time holds up throughout the summer, it could be ratified as world record September 1st. So I was aware of that back in April. But then we ran the race and I won in 401. I was like, oh, there's no way 401 is going to hold up. Yeah, surely there's other road miles out there where people will run faster. But I just think there weren't as many, certified courses that had drug testing and all the requirements to certify a world record. Maybe just a handful of races that had that, and none of them ran faster than 401. So I forget exactly when it was, but in September, I didn't get how I found out about it was, I think I had to look up one of my times on my World Athletics profile page, and I pulled it up and it said world record holder on it, and I was like, what? So then that's how I found out. And then I think a couple days later, my agent was like, yeah, like it got certified, and you need to do a press conference, and we need to, like, know what shoes you wore so we can get it ratified. So then it became a reality, and it felt pretty cool. It's cool. It's an event that's special to me, and I've been running the mile for a while. So it's an honor to hold the inaugural record, but at the same time, I knew it wasn't the fastest time, and it was sort of more of just being in the right place at the right time in Des Moines for that race. But it is a testament to my consistency and always showing up at the races that matter. So I think winning a U.S. title and against a good field and holding on to that world record for the month of September felt pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And does that come with being labelled as a world record holder. I know that you mentioned there kind of due to how the world record fell into place. You knew it wasn't the fastest time. Now, in saying that, in the World Championships, on the road, you put in an amazing performance. So there's nothing there to question your ability on the road compared to other world class athletes. But at the time when the world record became official, did it boost your confidence? Did that label come with a level of pressure going into the World Championships?
That's a good question. I don't think it changed my mindset too much. It did add some pressure going into the World Championships. I was asked to do the press conference 2 days before, and was introduced as a world record holder. And I think there were some expectations that I performed well at that race because at that time I was on paper the fastest guy in the road mile. So I knew I wanted to run well, and I knew I could. I know I kind of have what it takes on the roads to compete with almost anyone. I do it every year at Fifth Ave. I go into Fifth Ave. I've run Fifth Ave 5 times now, and every year I go in as one of the slower guys on paper, but I end up finishing near the front. I've been third twice there, and I'm finishing ahead of guys who have run 3:30 or faster in the 1500. Or
stacked field this year with Josh Kerr in there as well. So like especially the season he came out with on the track, there was an element of kind of presuming that he was going to take the win this year at Fifth Avenue, but yourself coming out with a sixth place finish with the depth of that field as well was an amazing result.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that race was very deep, and I do think I made a couple mistakes that cost me a podium there. I think I got a little greedy and was trying to get around George Mills for second place, and ended up blowing up a bit and got passed by 3 guys right at the line. So 6th place, is still really good, but I think in reality, like, I was kind of within a couple inches of maybe getting third. So it was a fun race, but yeah, I think that still gave me some confidence going into Riga, because I was like, man, these guys are coming off a season where they've run 328, 329, 330 in the 1500, and I'm right there with them in a road mile, which is a little different. So I was able to gain some confidence from that, and then we got to Riga, and on paper there were some guys faster than me in the 1500, but I knew I could hang. So I think there was some added pressure, but I was able to handle it, and I'm proud of the result I was able to come away with in Riga.
Definitely a third place position, a third place finish, and of course on the day there was a new world record set. So it was a fast race. It wasn't as if you got third place because people were fatigued from the track worlds, or the field on the day in on the roads in Riga was just as deep, and of course that was displayed through the new world record that was set. So coming away out of the road season this year, of course attention to be kind of refocus on the track maybe as soon as possible, but with being a world record throughout the world record holder throughout the season, and getting a bronze medal at the World Road Championships in Riga, is the roads now something that maybe you may apply a little bit more focus on for years to come?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see where the World Road Running Championships go as an event. I mean, it was an awesome event, but I still think a lot more emphasis is put on the World Track Championships. But future, if the World Road Running Champs becomes this huge event, then maybe I'll transition, put some more focus on the road miles, and at this point, you still qualify for the road championships through the track USA Championships. So I still need to put all my focus into the track if I want to make it back to World Championship races on the roads. But I mean, that race in Riga was good for me. It stings a little bit to lose the world record, especially finishing so close behind Hobbs. I mean, but all the credit to him. He executed well and had a well-timed kick. But I think there'll be some more opportunities next year to possibly get that world record back. So it is worth it to maybe put a little more focus on the roads if it means getting another world record. So yeah, I think 3:56 is a time that a lot of guys are going to be looking at as, sort of a reachable world record. So we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, definitely. Now this year has maybe pushed the road mile on a little bit. People looking on and seeing, people like yourself and Hobbs getting world medals and setting world records. It may even push the road on a little bit more. And next year, the depth may be even, further along than it was this year. So, like you said, we'll have to just wait and see kind of how the road championships are developed and if people kind of latch on to the initiative. But this year for yourself personally, it was a great, I suppose, display on the road for yourself. And like you said, between the 1st of October and the 7th, you were getting married, or it was a period of building up to your wedding. So that alone must have been a very, very busy period for yourself.
Yeah, I mean the whole summer was busy, just planning the wedding, and even leading up to Riga. It wasn't my best lead up to a championship race. It wasn't an ideal training. I was, I think, putting more focus on the wedding and making sure that everything was in place for that. Because then when I left Seattle for Riga, I wanted to make sure, like, at least we had most of the stuff put together, and Katie was in a good place to then fly to Ohio, and even the whole weekend in Riga, my mind was mostly on the wedding, and I think, I don't know, it was, um, yeah, very, very, very busy. But I think once I got to the race, I could flip a switch and focus on the race. But yeah, the wedding planning was a lot. I think if we could do it again, we'd probably get a wedding planner to help us out. But we did it. Both Katie's parents were great, and they helped a lot, and my parents helped too, and it was a whole team effort. So I mean, and it worked out great. The wedding was fantastic. But man, just like change Seattle to Riga was 10-hour time difference, and then I didn't sleep well in Latvia, and then leading into the wedding I was pretty tired, but was able to rally and have a good time. But yeah, then going back to Ohio after Riga, that was long travel, and then just the festivities throughout the week with family and friends. It was all incredible, and I was able. Thankfully, I was healthy during the wedding, but then after the wedding, it just my body just crashed. I think I asked too much of it, but at least I made it through the weddings healthy, and was able to have a good time. And everything went pretty smoothly. So yeah, I don't know if I would recommend, racing a European 7 days before 6 days before your wedding. But
Look, it's a very rare, I suppose, occasion for many people.
yeah, 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 exactly. um, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I could come away with a medal, and make it worth the trip over.
Definitely, definitely. No, weddings. I hear anyway. Weddings are difficult enough to organize without having to run on a world stage at the same time and prepare for that. I suppose it's a roller coaster of emotions the entire time. But like you said, you done it. You came away with a world medal, and of course, you got married and got the honeymoon and all sorted out. But then just after, the body crashed. But like you said, it's coming back around now, which is really, really great to hear. Now that roads are over and a really busy summer period for yourself is over, what's the current plan? What's the current schedule looking like in terms of your running?
So normally in the fall, I put a race on the calendar in early December or late November, just to shoot for something, and have something at the end of the fall to test the fitness. So last year I did a 5K in Boston, and trained for that, and I think that was early December. But this year, since I raced so late, I raced October 1st, so it was a lot later than normal, and had to take a break, and now I'm coming off that break. I don't think my next race will be until January, so I'll just do a normal indoor season starting up in January, and put in a huge training block November, December. So right now I'm just building back up my mileage and getting back in the gym, and starting some workouts. But then when November hits, I think I'll get up to yeah, I'll be running 90 95 miles a week, and doing some long runs and all the strength training that's required to maintain my fitness throughout the indoor and outdoor season. So I think that's key, is putting in a base now, and I'm just kind of slow playing it a little more than normal. Whereas in the years past, I would have a head start, and I'd already be kind of in the thick of training right now, and I'd try to race in December. But I think this year I'm just going to train in December, and then race in January, and focus on some pretty big goals indoors. I think there's another world championship team that I'm going to try to make, and then also it's always fun to try to run fast indoors, just because the conditions are always predictable and the tracks are fast. So I think just get excited for that, and a big year starting in January for me.
Definitely no, like the indoors are something to focus on, especially with the World Championships this year in the indoors. But of course we all know it is an Olympic year. We've seen over the course of the World Championships this year, and of course on the road, with yourself and Hobbs there in the mile, the depth in terms of the US team heading into an Olympic year has arguably never been stronger. Of course, USA have had many outstanding athletes in the middle distance for the duration of the competition. But the of course the indoors, but everyone, I'd say, the main focus for the months to come would be the Olympics, and I'm sure that may be the same for yourself, Sam. But before getting there, of course, the Olympic trials are something that you need to qualify for and get through. And you mentioned earlier in the podcast that the Olympic trials is a scenario that you've been in before. So how are your targets set on the Olympic trials, and then fingers crossed Paris 2024?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think the biggest challenge for American athletes is getting through the trials.
Yeah,
It's a
arguably harder
very
nearly than the Olympics itself. Once you're there, you can nearly relax.
yeah. So I mean, for me, my main focus is those 3 rounds at the trials. It's different than a normal U.S. Championships where you have 2 rounds. Our trials, we do 3 rounds. So you have a heat, and then a semifinal, and then the final, and then the goal is to get top 3 in the final. And I mean, this year with Yard and Cole running so fast, and a bunch of young guys up and coming, and then you have some veterans who are coming back into the picture. It's going to be a really interesting event, a really challenging event to not only get top 3, but just get a spot in the final at the trials. I think it's gonna be very, very challenging, and at the same time, though, I think I've always done well just focusing on myself, and getting myself prepared, and not really paying attention to what other guys are running throughout the season. If I show up to the trials confident, I think I have the experience, and just the way I run rounds, and the strength I have. I think when I get to the final, I'll be in a good spot, the goal is to make that Olympic team, and run in Paris. And I mean, I've been really close a lot of times before. I was the alternate for Doha World Championships, the Oregon World Championships last year, and then again this year in Budapest, I was the first alternate. So I've been the first man out 3 times now, and I'm just really eager to get a shot at racing at the world level. I think if I do get to a major championship outdoors, I could make the final. I could run those rounds in a way that would give me a shot at running fast and running well in the final. It's just I've never gotten the chance before, so it'd be cool to get top 3 at the trials. But again, it's a long process getting to that point, and I think the reason I talked so much about indoors is because I think a good indoor season sets you up well for outdoors, and if I can find some success indoors, I think I'll carry that momentum to the outdoor season.
Definitely, and especially after the amazing road season you had, there may be a bit of a target on your back going into indoors, and hopefully, if you have a really good indoors, leading into outdoors as well. Do you know what I mean? Because as much as there was, the legal side of the world record of the road mile coming in this year in your favor, that still has a mental knock-on effect to your competitors, because they know the standard in which you can run at. So hopefully going into the indoor and the outdoor season, there could be a target on your back that everyone else is kind of, okay, this season we need to keep our eye on Sam. But like you said, thankfully you've been good at being able to just focus on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year, I mean, this whole season in 2023 has been my best year as a pro runner, which has been um, fun. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, thinking like I need to back up my performance. Like last indoor season, I won the 3K in the indoor USA championships, and I think going back and defending that title would be something that I would love to do. And then yeah, that's also another target on my back is being someone who does put a lot of focus on indoors and running fast on the short track, as they say now. But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting.
No, definitely. And Sam, I can't wait to, I suppose, cheer you on from this side of the world throughout the indoor season, and the outdoor season, of course, like you mentioned there, trying to retain your indoor title, while making a US team for the world indoors, and then fingers crossed, all going well, a little bit later on into next year, heading over to Paris for the Olympics. But of course, the trials are the one thing standing in your way, and like we mentioned, the depth in middle distance running over in USA at the moment is next level. So look, we'll definitely be all cheering you on. We wish you all the best of luck, and thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, appreciate you having me, and yeah, thanks a lot for the support.
No worries, no worries at all. We'll definitely be following you really closely, and as well for everyone watching and listening at home, we do really appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time. Bye bye.